make a confession. I've dropped my Nikon D850 2 times in a week. Dropped it on the concrete one time, and I dropped it using my GorillaPod one time, and I'm not happy about it. However, I'm here to tell you the D850 took a licking and kept on ticking. So the first time that I dropped it, I was in Tennessee, and I was there with some family. My niece was graduating, and so I went there to celebrate that with her, and we went to go take this family photo. Here is the family photo. So you can see I got the photo. That's a good thing. And I took this family photo after I dropped my camera. Well, when I travel, a lot of times I take a Joby GorillaPod. I love these things. They're very useful. They're useful for vlogging. They're also useful for when I can't really take a big tripod with me. So I set up this GorillaPod on a railing, a hand railing, and when I set it up, I was moving kind of fast, and I didn't pay attention to how the legs were wrapped around the vertical bar of the railing. And so what I didn't have is I didn't have a way to prevent it from falling over forward. Well, guess what? That's exactly what happened. I had the camera sitting there. I was waiting for people to get into position to take the photo, and it just slowly crept forward, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, bam! And so here's what happened. Right there. See that? It fell forward right onto the vertical railing and busted out a section of my 24 to 70 millimeter f2.8 lens, little aluminum piece right there. And I just repaired this lens. I just sent it into Nikon to have it repaired and refurbished, kind of get it into new condition, only to have it a few weeks later bash into the vertical railing. So a caution for you. Normally when I shoot with the lens hood on. And in fact, I almost always have the lens hood on. But in this situation, I remember specifically thinking, nah, I think I'll just leave my lens hood back home, back at my sister-in-law's house. I'll just leave it there sitting in the camera bag. I have lived to regret that decision, because if this had fallen forward, it would have bashed the lens hood and not broken the lens. So that's situation number one. Situation number two. I am I'm creating a new video series, and this is on studio lighting in your garage, and that'll come out. You'll see more on that later in a future installment here. But I've got my camera set up, and I'm actually videoing the presentation, or videoing the DVD on my Nikon D850. It makes the D850 is a great video camera. So it's on my tripod. I set it up there, and then I'm doing some work with it, and I loosen up the head on my video tripod because I'm going to reposition the camera. At that moment, my phone rings. I run inside the house, and I've got an assistant working with me on this. He goes over to the camera, and he starts kind of adjusting the camera, and it falls right off the tripod onto the concrete floor of my garage. Now, in this situation, I had the lens hood on there, and so the camera falls forward, bashes right on the lens hood, shoves the lens hood back on the lens itself, and then the camera itself hits, I don't even know, hits a bunch of hard things on the floor, and the memory card slot opens up. The memory cards both eject out, and I walk back into the room about 2 minutes later, and my photo assistant's looking at me, and his face is white, white as a sheet, and he goes, "Mike, I dropped your camera on the floor." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" It didn't break the lens itself. It didn't break the lens mount, but what it did is it bashed apart the lens hood. So I've had to buy another lens hood here this week, and what I did is I just went onto Amazon and I bought a third-party lens hood. I don't even know the brand name of this. It just cost me, it was about $10. It's the HB40 replacement. And what this taught me, well, it taught me to always shoot with my lens hoods. It's so important to have your lens hoods on there because the lens hoods will break the fall. It'll protect the front element. And normally I'm pretty good about this, but now moving forward, I will not shoot again without having my lens hood on the camera because it protected my camera once from the fall in the concrete, and it would have protected it that first time using my GorillaPod.